Hi everyone, welcome to Draftscapes. I'm Chris Tuccio. So, a question that I get often from either students or professionals is, what kind of drafting pens or pencils do I usually purchase or do I keep with me on a daily basis? What kind of pencils do I carry around with me versus leave at the drafting table? So what I decided to do this episode, I'm just going to open up my container here, show you all the different types of pens and pencils that I have, what I use, what I really don't use, and sort of some quality guides for you to think about when you're purchasing your equipment. So let's just basically throw it up in the air and I'll show you all the different things that I have. Okay, so I guess I'll start off by going through some of my everyday stuff that I carry with me all the time, whether it's in the studio or whether it's just doing work in the office for my regular job. And I bought this really nice, it's a leather holder. It was actually, I didn't buy it, it was a gift for me. It's a leather, it's a little like pocket protector. It's kind of nice. I carry it in my pocket, either in my carpenter pants or in my jeans. And it holds about 4 pens or pencils in it. It's really nice. It says hide and drink as the manufacturer. This is about maybe 4 or 5 years old. It's held up pretty well. I think it was purchased off of Etsy. I'm not sure if that's available still. If so, I'll make sure that I link it in the description. But I usually have 4 pens or pencils that I carry with me all the time. The first, they're not all related to drafting, but they are related to art and landscape design, etc. The first is one that I use all the time here on this channel or in drafting, and that's my actual lead holder, 2mm rote ring. So for those that are familiar with this channel and drafting in pencil or drafting in pen, I usually reach for my lead holder. I have 3 different ones. This is the one that's sort of the nicest. It's hexagonal shape, has a really nice grip point here. It's very well balanced, has a nice clip, and Rote Ring is a fabulous company. The actual material here is really well developed. It feels really good in the hand. It's not cheap. It's a little more expensive than some of the others, but I use it so often. I've had this probably about 2 years now, and you can barely tell that there's any wear on it. I try and keep it as nice as I can. And so anything professionally that I do with graphite, I'll use this first. Really, really beautiful pen. Rote Ring is a company too. I don't have much others besides maybe a couple art pens that I use from them, but if you want really nice stuff, they're a good one. It's sort of a German company. That Rote Ring is red ring, and that's how you indicate it, because this red ring that you see along the edge here. So really nice drafting mechanical pencil that I'll use. Then for sort of fine line drawing, I have a Noodler's Ahab fountain pen. So for those that are into it, fountain pen is sort of like a black hole for art. This one's kind of old and beat up because I use it so much, but this is an Ahab variety, really nice coloration to it. It has a nib that is flexible, meaning you can get dark lines on it and light lines. So I actually haven't been doing it. So the drafting pen, the pencil, Rote Ring pencil, I didn't really do anything with. You know how a pencil works. But this, the nib, you can press flexible and it does a bold line, or you can go light and it does a light line. You can go actually very dark depending on how you press it, and it's kind of nice. The darkness of it is beautiful, and you can also switch out ink. So I have. I just switched out ink. You could tell my hands are kind of a mess. I just switched out of Noodler's black, just regular black ink that I use on it. And I'll do either drawings with it, lettering, just having it around for doing little bits of fine line work and sketches. It's a really nice thing. And the thing I like about it is you can easily switch out inks. So just like with this mechanical pencil, or sort of this lead holder, I could swap out, I have 2B lead in here now, I could swap out to H lead and get a lighter line weight. Whereas this, I could swap out blue, red, ink. I mean, the amount of ink that you find in fountain pens from these companies is unimaginable. So you can always swap out to see what you get. This is a really nice one, the Noodlers. Ahab. Okay, so I carry those two with me all the time. And then this is a really amazing one. Again, this was a gift that I had just found out about. I love these little gadgets. But this is a Schuliner pen. Okay, so basically the way that it works is it's just a regular ballpoint pen. Okay, it adjusts like so. Hexagonal, so really nice weight to it. It's all aluminum. And then it has outside of the pen, it has metrics. So you have regular inches, you have centimeters, you have millimeters all along the edge. So if I ever want to measure something and I can't reach for anything, I can actually just measure it with the pen itself. Not only that, it has a bubble level. So you can actually level things out or check for level with this little bubble level. Now, typically this is like if it's a shelf or you're hanging a painting or something. I think I've used this maybe 3 or 4 times. You know what, I use it a lot when I'm setting up a laser level or a dumpy level and I'm just trying to get the tripod right before I put the actual level on it. This is a really good way of doing it because it sits there quite nicely and I could check for level in a number of different directions. And then it also has, which is fabulous, this bottom part screws out and I have a Phillips head as well as a flathead screwdriver, which is perfect in instances where I need to change out something, often batteries of something, because it's a very small screwdriver. And then again, you could tell I use these quite a lot. This top point is supposed to be a stylus for tablets, but obviously it's been used up, so it's broken. They also make, if you don't want to buy the hard, sort of more expensive, and this isn't that expensive, I think it's like 10, 12 bucks. If you don't want to buy that variety, they do make disposable ones, but the disposable ones, I've had them, a couple students have brought them in to show me, but they're kind of cheap. They definitely are. They're plastic, they don't last long. The actual ink here, when you purchase it, it comes with a variety of different refills. I think you get 4 different refills when you purchase the one. So it lasts a while. I've had this a couple of years. I think I've only refilled it twice. And so and I write with it all the time. If I'm writing anything in pen, it's usually with this pen. So that's a really nice one. And then, as you know on the channel, I'm always reaching for a Sharpie. They are absolutely beautiful. I have a whole pack of them that I always use. Some are fine, some are fine lined, some are just regular broad tip. I absolutely think that these are essential for any designer to go through with any sort of designing. I'll often start conceptually with Sharpie and then I'll narrow my way down to a finer line point. So those are the ones that I often just use on a daily basis and keep with me. And so I typically just have them in my little pocket. So outside of that, what else do I use? Well, I actually have 2 different sets of Copic multiliners. One is an A2 set, which comes with your standard dimensions of drafting pens from 0.03 all the way up to 1.0. So these drafting pens are very useful, really nice quality. There are better ones out there, don't get me wrong. Copic is just sort of middle of the road in terms of the brand quality, but they're a really good workhorse. They're disposable pens. I don't actually own any drafting pens that are permanent, like my fountain pen that you have to refill with ink, only because I don't find them useful. I really beat these to heck when I'm drafting because I use them so much. So having them disposable and keeping them coming, it's really nice. And Copic's the brand that I typically like. There's a variety of different brands out there that you'll see. I also have a couple brands that I'll show you, but Copic's the one that I like the best. And then I have a B2 set. Similar kinds of line weights, except you get a little more variation out of the set. And then you also get these brush tips as well as the chisel tips, which are really nice when you're doing different type of work. And you've probably seen me reach for these in some of the videos. So I actually have 2 of them. They do have duplicity with them, and I also will have certain numbers like 0.5 or 0.8 that I'll buy extras of because those are the ones I use often. But Copic's the brand that I usually go to. Again, there's a variety of them out there, but Copic is typically the one that I would recommend to students and professionals. The other one, so another example of a different type of drafting pen, the Alvin Tech Liners, they're They're a little cheaper than the Copic ones, but again, I often buy extra. So all of these are the exact same dimension, 0.5 millimeters, because with this fine line work, I love drawing, either sketching or drafting or landscapes, just in general. I like using this kind of fine line work. So I go through these very quickly. Copics are a little more expensive, so I have some extra Alvins beating around in case I need them in a pinch, or I'm doing something outside in bad weather and I don't want to ruin a nice Copic, which you do run into. So Alvin makes a similar product to the Copics, but I don't have a set. I just buy the individual sizes that I need. Another thing that I had talked about was the mechanical pencils, or the lead holders. I actually have two other lead holders with me. So this is the Penograph one that I often use in the beginning videos. It's really nice. It's the oldest one I've had. I've had it longer than the Rote Ring. I use it quite a bit. It was the first one I ever got. And again, these lead holders, the reason I have more than one, I actually have three. I have the Rote Ring and then I have these two, are because, again, I could swap out. So the Rote Ring, I have 2B graphite. This one I have HB, and this one, which is a Burl turquoise variety, I end up having a H. So number of different hardnesses. So this turquoise one is a little different. This was actually gifted to, well, that wasn't gifted to me. It was donated to me by a designer that had, or the wife of a designer that had passed away. So kind of a little memento I keep with me. I wasn't in the market for another lead holder, but it was available and it was really nice. It looked good quality. Turquoise is a good brand. And so I kept it and I use it for much finer line weight. So where I don't need very heavy graphite. So between the Konihor, the turquoise, as well as the Rote Ring, those are the main lead holders in terms of pencils that I have. I also have finer drafting mechanical pencils from Pentel. So both of them are Pentel. They're different ages. One's a little older than the other, so they're also a little bit up, but they're both 0.5 millimeters. Again, I don't like having, they do make those nice sets, like the Graph Gear sets, where you have the permanent mechanical pencils where you have all the different sizes color-coded. Those are nice, but typically when I'm drafting, I will draft lightly with either my lead holder or my 0.5 pencil, and then I'll very quickly over the top of it ink. I don't necessarily need all the different sizes in graphite. I have the different sizes in pen, and I typically like using pen over anything else. So those are all just the pencils that I use. Now I should say I do also have a variety of different just drawing pencils, anywhere from 4B all the way to 4H that I use for sketching, but those aren't necessarily drafting stuff, and they're just regular pencils that you can get at any art supply store. So those are there too. The last thing that I'll show you that I think is a really neat thing. Just quickly too, you can see in my little kit here, if I go into it, I mean, I have a variety of different types of lead too, or graphite that goes into all of these. So I typically keep all of these available to me, and they're different hardnesses, very useful in a pinch, that I just keep in my little kit here. The last thing that I'll show you, which is a really neat little thing, is this thing. Let me move this out of the way. And this is a pantograph. So if you don't know what a pantograph is, I'll try and make sure that I show it here. But basically, it is used to enlarge or reduce a drawing in freehand. So rather than take a drawing, scan it, and reduce it in Photoshop or something, you can do it actually with this device on your studio table. So it essentially has this accordion-like quality to it. And so on one side, the side that's over to me, you have sort of the holder. So this is the pivot point. So this would just be held here. And then over on this side, you have the pointer. So this would actually go to your original drawing, okay, like here, okay, and say this is my drawing. And then you would place your pencil, and I'm just going to take a sample pencil. You would place your pencil here, And then as you move this pointer to where you want your drawing, this is your original drawing, you move the pointer along your drawing, it actually is tracing here on to a smaller degree. So this is the reducer. And if you want to enlarge it, you would do the opposite. You take this pointer out and move it here and move the pencil over here. And so you would then trace here and it would make it a larger quality. So it's a really interesting device. I ended up finding it a really old sort of thrift shop. And it's good for sort of just hobbyist stuff. I don't think I've ever used it for actually drawing or doing this, because typically you could just scan and reduce and enlarge. But from the standpoint of a really fun little device that you can use, I was really intrigued. So for a few dollars, I decided to pick it up, and it's really, really neat. You don't see a lot of these nowadays. So that's a little fun one I wanted to add in at the end. So really that's it in terms of pens and pencils that I typically have in my drafting set. With all of those and all the other recommended tools that I sort of go over, you should have more than enough stuff to really be quite successful in landscape design. If you haven't already, I will make sure to link, but on the Draftscapes website I have a recommended tools section for drafting, so you can see all the different things that I recommend. But in terms of pens and pencils, this is really it. So thanks, guys.